Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rinkside Regression. My name is George. With me, of course, is Jack. Obviously, I'm in the new setup. I'm home for the summer now, so this is more or less what the background's going to look like. I need to kind of rearrange things, but I just got off a plane at 8:30 this morning, and then I fell asleep for like 4 hours because I hadn't slept for 2 days. But that's the struggle of getting to the airport at midnight for a 6:30 a.m. flight. But other than that, how are you doing, Jack? As we prepare for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, unfortunately, I still have a couple weeks left here at school, unlike you. Very nice to see that you're home for the summer, but I'm
Yeah, it's
doing
great.
great. I'm really excited for the playoffs. We get started this weekend. It's going to be Easter as well this weekend for the
Yep,
American states, so nice little
yep,
holiday to kick things off for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Should be a really fun next couple months here and then transition into the off season.
yeah, for sure. Not only is it Easter this weekend, but it's also WrestleMania 41. So for
There
my
you go.
WWE fans out there, it's kind of fun. I don't know why they planned it on Easter. That kind of upset me, but it's fine. Um, anyway, shout out Tom Brady who might be at WrestleMania. Apparently. So anyway, let's get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. The bracket is set. That's why we didn't have an episode on Monday because we were going to do a playoff preview, but obviously there's still some teams that hadn't been locked in yet. Now we have the full bracket. There's games tonight. We're recording this on Thursday. None of them matter. This is what we have now, and we're going to begin in the West with Winnipeg and St. Louis. Obviously, the Blues, the 8 seed going in, but one of the hottest teams in the NHL over the last little bit, basically since the Four Nations break. And a Jets team that's really banged up. I mean, Nemestikov's injured, Ehlers is hurt. There's another one of their defensemen is out too. Uh,
I know Velarde, you missed Velarde up front.
Velarde's hurt too. I think Sandberg blocked a shot or something. I don't know if he's out or not, but really a limping into the playoffs Winnipeg Jets team versus a super hot Blues team. Uh, what are kind of your first impressions looking at the series?
I know we had talked about it a couple weeks ago when we were looking at the wild card race, and I believe it was you that said the Blues are the last team that the Jets are going to want to play out of the teams that were sort of in that bubble
Yeah,
looking to fight their way in. We were talking about like Utah, we were talking about Vancouver, and you said St. Louis you think would be the worst team for them to match up against. But despite the Jets being banged up, I still think they're likely to pull out the series against the Blues just because the Blues were streaky and had that hot stretch. And I think they're sort of in the middle of what they were at the start of the season and how they finished after the Four Nations break. And it's just really tough for me to count out Connor Hellebuck in net after a disastrous 5 game series against the Avalanche. He got lit up last year, but I highly doubt it's going to be replicated after the regular season he had. So I'm still leaning towards the Jets despite the injuries. Obviously, they have some superb offensive talent up front with those guys out still. They have Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, of course, who had great seasons. What do you think?
yeah. I think the biggest thing here for me for Winnipeg, it's kind of the same as what I said last year going to the series against Colorado. I think the Jets lose this series if they like outthink themselves, and the biggest thing for me is Logan Stanley cannot play in this series. Um, that would be not good. And obviously, Luke Shen has done a good job pushing him out of the lineup. But if there is injuries to the blue line, I feel like he's going to be the first guy who's going to get called up, and that doesn't bode well. I also do have concerns about this center core, which is something that we talked about at the trade deadline. Um, it sounded like they were really close to Brock Nelson, to the point where they actually felt like they had him from the reports I've seen. Obviously, that didn't happen, and they had to pivot. But I have concerns, but I don't think this Jets team is like this untouchable President's Trophy winner. And I don't think there really is a team this year in general. And I want to kind of put that out there now that I don't look around the league right now and think that there's one team that's like, yeah, that's for sure going to be like a Final Four team in the playoffs. I think there's definitely at least two in every division right now that could come out of each division, and Winnipeg's certainly one of those. But I think the Central might be the most wide open in terms of which teams can compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Winnipeg team, even though they're banged up, they're still very good. We know what they can be capable of.
Yeah,
And I still think they're going to pull this out. St. Louis, they've been hot, but I think they're going to slow down like they have the last week or so of the regular season. They just squeaked in. It was getting really close too. Calgary almost found their way in there, which would have
yeah,
been insane if on Dustin Wolf's shoulders and the late run that they had, but I'm still sticking with the Jets. I'd probably say this goes about 6 games just because of the injuries. What do you think?
Yeah, I really want to pick Winnipeg. Like Winnipeg seems like the safe pick right now. I want to be a little risky. I'm gonna go Blues in 6. Um, I think that the Velarde and Ehlers injuries really hurt this top 6. Um, although I have to say that the Jets have had some pretty good support from Iafallo, who's stepped in and obviously earned himself an extension. Neil Pionk also earned himself an extension today. That was certainly something. But I don't know. I have concerns about this blue line if they end up running like a Shen Stanley pairing. I have concerns about Connor Hellebuyck playing in the playoffs because he hasn't been able to put it together yet. Not all of it is his fault, but they've certainly relied on him a lot in the regular season again this year, and I'm wondering if that's going to catch up to him. And you have a goalie in Jordan Binnington on the other side that's also proven that he can get hot. So, we've seen it when they won the Cup. We saw it in the Four Nations this year. I don't know. There's just something about the Blues team that I just feel they can squeak by and around. And I think the Jets are vulnerable. They haven't been as consistent as they were, obviously, in the first half of the season. So I don't know. I'm going to go Blues in 6. Why not?
And I don't hate that. I don't think the Jets are a clear-cut winner. I'm not 100% confident in my pick as I am for some of these other series, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Blues were to pull this out.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be close. Like I could go either way on this one, but I want to be a little bit different too. So, moving on to one of the most intriguing series I think of the playoffs, Colorado and Dallas. This was a series that a month ago, I had Dallas penciled in pretty strongly to win this series. I don't know if I feel the same way anymore. Man, Dallas has been bad the last little bit. They went on like a 7-game losing streak.
To end the season, yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Now, you can read into that as much as you want. Obviously, we've seen a team like Florida. I think won like 3 of their last 10 last year. Going into the play, we'll talk about Florida's cold streak that they're on right now too. But so you can kind of read into that what you want. Obviously, they had an outside shot at winning the division that kind of disappeared. How do you feel going into this one, and are you worried about Dallas?
I am absolutely worried about Dallas, especially considering Jason Robinson left the game. I believe it was last time with the knee brace on. So that's their top scorer right there, outside of Mikko Rantanen before he got there. Injured now, potentially. And this Avs team is loaded now. They came in at the trade deadline, picked up Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle, Ryan Lindgren, you name it. They went out and they addressed all their issues. I think it's insane the turnover that this roster had throughout the course of the season, changing the goalie tandem, bringing in multiple forwards and defensemen. I'm really excited to watch this Avalanche team play. I think this could be a really interesting series, and honestly, maybe the most entertaining one, arguably, with Mikko Rantanen going against his former team and the whole contract dispute there, where he wanted to work out the deal, but they weren't interested in doing so due to the money, but which was kind of strange as that whole situation unfolded. But I'm kind of leading Colorado here just because of the Dallas injuries, and I just don't trust Dallas's right side of the blue line. It is very weak, one of the weakest we've seen in a long time in a playoff series. So I'm leading Colorado.
I agree. I'm picking Colorado in this series. I honestly I wouldn't be surprised if this series is kind of a blowout. Like if Colorado comes in and just shocks everybody and wins this in like 5. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me. Like Colorado could just come in here and just roll over Dallas because that
kind of like they did last year, yeah,
against Winnipeg. Like I could see a very similar series where they score like 5 goals a game. Because Colorado just looks like a buzzsaw right now, and they like credit to them because in December, like I thought Colorado was just kind of like going to be one of those like teams that just gets invited into the invitational and is happy to be there and bows out in round 1. But they did a phenomenal job kind of rebuilding this roster on the fly this year, and especially after the Rantanen deal. And like credit to them. I I do think it's gonna be a fun series. I think Dallas's offense needs to get credit, obviously, but man, that blue line, it was a concern after the deadline, and for sure it feels like more of a concern now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'm gonna finalize my pick. I'm gonna go Colorado. I think it's gonna go 7 games just because that Dallas offense is so electric and so deep compared to some of the forward cores we've seen in the playoffs. I'd say they arguably have one of the deepest forward cores we've seen in a long time and one of the weakest defenses we've seen in a long time, especially that right side. So I think this is going 7 games personally, just because of the whole Rantanen saga. I think this is going to be one of the most entertaining series of the first round. I'm going to take the Avs in 7.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7. I'm gonna take Colorado too. I don't know if I'm gonna say 6 or 7, but uh, I might just go 6 just because that game's to me in Colorado. But either way, yeah, I think it Dallas is such an interesting team because of how split their team like identity is. Like it's one of the best offenses I think we've ever seen put together in recent memory. But the blue line's just such a mess, especially if Heiskanen is not playing. And even if he is, he's coming off an injury. And I think one of the things that's understated here too is the return of Gabriel Landeskog. Regardless of how effective he is as his own player, like that's just going to give a boost to that Colorado locker room for sure. And he scored in his first game in the AHL, so that was cool. And obviously he got called up from his conditioning stint now, but I think there's definitely something to be said there about the impact that he's going to have just entering that locker room.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there we go. Well, we agree on that one. Moving on now, I feel like we're going to agree on this one too. Vegas and Minnesota. Before we get into this, can I just talk about how like disrespected the Vegas Golden Knights have been this year?
Oh my
Like,
God.
I feel like nobody's talking about this team is so good, and nobody's giving them any credit. Like Jack Eichel could be a Hart nominee right now. He has been phenomenal, and like they've had a full season of Mark Stone. I think honestly, the reason why nobody's talking about Vegas is because they didn't do anything crazy at the deadline. Like that's what it is. But they didn't have to. Like this team is so good, and like I man, like talk about an invitational. I think Minnesota's in trouble. If like I'd be really concerned if I'm a Minnesota Wild fan going into this series, but I'm curious to see what you think. I really like Vegas.
Yeah, I think Vegas is going to steamroll Minnesota, to be honest. It's very nice to see they got Kaprizov back right before the playoffs, which is huge. And to be honest, I would have had Vegas for a sweep if Kaprizov wasn't playing in this series.
Yeah,
They have
probably.
the solid goaltending and Philip Gustafson. They have some good defensive stalwarts like Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon, but and a couple of talented guys up front, Marco Rossi, Matt Boldy have all looked good this year. Joel Eriksson's back as well from injury. So they have a few sneaky guys that can potentially come out and play well. Brock Faber leading the way on the back end, but I just don't think it's enough. I think this Vegas team has looked really good. I think they
Yeah,
haven't been given enough credit this year for what they've been. Their ability just to maximize their players and their system is unbelievable. Bruce Cassidy's an amazing coach. They bring in guys like Victor Olofsson, and then they get Pavel Dorofeyev to score 30 plus this year,
yeah,
and they really just get the most out of their guys. And that's really
yeah,
entertaining to me to watch when you can bring in players that maybe haven't been given a fair shot or potentially haven't had the right opportunity elsewhere, maybe a lack of ice time, and they can come in and they can thrive. And a place like Vegas in that market, and that's really cool to me. So my pick's gonna be Vegas in 5. I think just because Kaprizov's playing in the series, Minnesota's able to snag one game. He's one of the best players in the entire NHL, and he's looked really good in a couple games he's been back. So I'm taking Vegas in 5.
yeah. Speaking of just guys that are just picking up off waivers, like what about the reemergence of Brandon Saad in the bottom 6? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
16 points in 43 games with St. Louis. He's got 14 and 29 with Vegas already. So like, like they're just picking up guys. And I remember when that move happened, I was like, that's somebody to watch. He might have a big goal in the playoffs. And watch for Brandon Saad. He's somebody that has the playoff experience too. So I
been
think
there, done
Vegas in
that.
5 feels pretty good.
Yeah,
That I'm solid with that. I think Vegas might be playing in June. Spoiler alert. We'll see.
I just can't disrespect Kaprizov like that after the season he's
Yeah,
had, despite the
fair
short
enough.
time. He's gonna steal at least one game.
Yeah, I agree. Finally, the last series in the West, Edmonton and LA for the 50th straight time in a row. The series has went Edmonton in 7, Edmonton in 6, and Edmonton in 5. This is the 4th year they're playing. It's gotten worse and worse for LA. Is this the year that the Kings get swept?
You see, this is the series I'm most divided on, to be honest with you. I've gone
Yeah.
back and forth. I've changed my pick probably 500 times in the last couple of days, and I'm torn, to be honest with you, because the Kings, I think there's something a little bit different about this Kings team this year in terms of stylistically, and they brought in Andre Kuzmenko at the deadline. Outside of that, they were pretty quiet, but Kuzmenko's been an actually a really good fit for them, which has been cool to watch, considering they barely gave up anything to get him, and considering this Oilers team was banged up. They have McDavid back now, who went on a tear to finish the season and ended up getting 100 points. And nobody thought everyone was counting out McDavid, saying, "Oh, like he might not get 100 this year." Like disappointing for his standards. He came back and put up like crazy numbers to finish the
Yeah.
season and got like 10, 12 points in his last like couple games. So that was really
4th
cool to
player
see.
to have 800-point seasons.
And what's the status on Leon Draisaitl? Is he back yet? He's coming back for game one? Is that confirmed or
I'm
is
not
that
sure. I'd assume so. I'd assume he'd be
see?
back for game 1.
So I'm just questionable about the health there, but
Yeah.
Darcy Kemper has looked really good for the Kings too, and then I think he's definitely an upgrade over what they've put out there the past couple years against Edmonton. I'm torn on this series. I'm kind of curious to see what you have to say first.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I have a lot of trouble picking. Daily Faceoff does not have Leon Draisaitl in the lineup as of right now. Oh no, wait, where is he? No, yeah, he's not in. Zach Hyman's also day today. Yeah, I think injuries are definitely the biggest thing here. It's really fun to see how the Pierre-Luc Dubois for Darcy Kemper trade has kind of worked out for both teams, and everybody thought that neither team won that deal, and it's kind of been like really good for both sides, which is hilarious. I don't. This feels a lot like the Capitals Penguins series from 2017, where it was Washington in the second round again against Pittsburgh, and they had to get over the hump, and it was like, can they finally like break the demons and get past and try to make a run? And they did, and ended up winning the cup. And it really feels like if LA wins this series, they could go on a run just because of the momentum that it's going to give them. Although they're going to run into a buzzsaw in Vegas in the next round. I don't know. I feel like, to be honest with you, whoever wins this series is just kind of going to lose to Vegas in the second round. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I don't know if there's like a path, barring injury, for either of these teams to get out of round 2. But maybe if Draisaitl can come back, I'd probably give the edge to Edmonton. And I think McDavid's going to come in hungry too, like especially after the poor season that he had. And he's somebody that like he can just put up 3 points a game, and all of a sudden you're going to a game down 3-0. I think you kind of have to expect to be going down every one of these games. Like the LA Kings mindset against playoff McDavid is that they're entering every game down 1-0 already, right? Like he's basically good for a point a game, and that's a tough place to be, especially with all the history that they have here. I'm probably going to lean Edmonton, but it's close. I think this is the closest this series has been in the last 4 years.
I'm going to go the other way. I think I'm going to take the Kings. I think they'll finally get it done this time.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think this one will probably go 7. To be honest with you.
Team looks a little bit different to me, so I'm going to take LA in 6. I'm going to go with
That's
that.
fair. I'll go Edmonton in 7.
Just because of the injuries.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's kind of what the 7 games is for me too. I think the injuries are kind of the biggest thing.
Fully healthy Edmonton team, I'm taking them. But
yeah,
I don't trust the injuries.
That's fair. So moving into the Eastern Conference, there's some fun series in the Metro. I feel like is less interesting, and that's where we're going to start. Let's start with Montreal and Washington. The rematch from 2010. Another series where a team can exercise some demons. In Washington, obviously, first place that year against the 8 seed Canadiens. here we are again, and it was kind of tense for a bit there because Jet Greaves turned into prime Dominic Hasek for 2 weeks. And what a run he had, by the way. Can we talk about the Jet Greaves like 5-game stint? We had like a 970 save percentage and like 3 shutouts.
Incredible.
What the hell happened? It's really funny. I think they talked about this on The Athletic, where like if Columbus would have gotten to the playoffs, Jet Greaves would have been eligible for like for Calder votes, and it would have been really funny that he would have gotten like more like third place Calder votes than Dustin Wolf playing like 10 games for like the week that he had, just because the recency bias of it. Whereas like Dustin Wolf had like a considerably better, like fantastic season carrying like an awful team. It just would have been really funny if Columbus would have got in and Jet Greaves finished like ahead of Dustin Wolf in Calder voting, because that's what would have happened. And it's hilarious. Playing like 10 games. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Montreal got in. Kind of limping. They had a couple opportunities to close it out, and they kind of couldn't do it, which kind of concerns me a little bit about Montreal. Their young team and the fact that they had those and it really was like this team was playing with house money the entire year, like from December 1st onward, like from Four Nations onward. Everybody kind of just wrote them out, and they were like, all right, we're going to go and play loose. And then as soon as they started to enter into games with expectations, starting with the Ottawa game, they really tightened up, and they blew the 2-0 lead against Chicago. They had some tense moments against Carolina. They obviously lost to Toronto. They lost to Ottawa. I think as soon as this team got some expectations, things kind of fell off the way, like the wheels kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. And that concerns me. Although I don't think there's any pressure on them now again. Now that they've gotten in, so maybe that changes things. But what are kind of your thoughts on the Canadiens and Capitals?
I'll talk about the other side first. I think the Capitals are really interesting because we had a discussion about them a couple weeks ago. How good are they really going to be after this? Like, is this the time for them to win now with Ovechkin aging another year, with some depth signings that they have to take care of and expiring deals? Like, John Carlson's up there in age. Like, what's the plan after this is what I'm really curious about. And I think this series against Montreal is going to dictate a lot of what Spencer Carberry and this organization does for the next couple of years, because this was a very unexpected first place finish for the Washington Capitals, first place in the Eastern Conference. Nobody saw this coming. Granted, they had a great offseason. We thought we'd see them in the playoffs once again, but nobody saw them at the top of the Eastern Conference over teams like Florida and Toronto and Carolina. And here we are. And they're going against this Montreal, and the Rangers, who didn't even make it here. But that's a whole other story. We'll dive into that, I'm sure, in June or July or whenever. But even Montreal, they're the other end of the spectrum. Nobody expected them to be here either in this spot, in the 8th seed, with this young team coached by Marty St. Louis. They have a ton of great young pieces that finally put it together and just squeaked in just enough. So I think it's really interesting because both these teams were not expected to be in these spots, and nobody anticipated this at all. And I think there's a ton of pressure on the Capitals to win, especially with the age of some of their core guys. And Montreal, now that they've squeaked in, they've killed the Demons. The rebuild's kind of over, I'd say, once you make a wild card spot. Yes and no. And
I mean, they're not gonna have another high draft pick. Like this is kind of this is the core. Like this is the now it's about like, and we'll talk about Montreal's deficiencies because there's quite a bit of them. And I think a lot of them are exposed in the last couple games. But like I think that like in terms of like acquiring top end talent, like this is the core. Like you have your guys. I mean, Ivan Demidov's looked fantastic in his like 2 games that he's played. And like obviously the top line's been really good all season. So
and this is what we
filling up Demidov now. Yeah.
So old versus young Russian.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun little story in this. I'm curious to see the impact that he's gonna have. He's kind of max factor in this series. Because if he can be the game breaker that he has shown that he can be. And also, can we take a second to like just talk about how insanely lucky he was on the goal that he scored against Chicago? Like the way that puck bounced right to him was really good. And then and then he just made an incredible play with it. But it's like obviously you have to put yourself in great situations, and great players tend to have that happen more. But man, like his hockey IQ is already incredible.
He reminds me of Kucherov just watching these first couple games, just
Yeah,
how shifty he is with the puck. And he doesn't play that fast like Kucherov. It's a very calculated and
yeah.
methodical game, and he's there to manipulate you. And man, did he do that when he set up that goal for Alex Newhook?
Oh my
Oof.
God, that was incredible, and especially with a guy that he's never played with before. Like, give him an off season, like of getting used to the system. Like, oh, he's gonna be he's gonna be fantastic. I'd like to see them experiment with him playing with Caulfield as much as like you don't want to take Suzuki off that line. I think giving him like a super creative player like Cole Caulfield, because I don't think Line is the guy. It didn't look great in the game against Carolina, but just Caulfield's like speed, I think would be a really good match with Demidov. But obviously, you don't really want to mess up that top line. My
I'd
biggest
love to.
concern for sorry, continue.
I'd love to see Polslavskovsky off that line do Demidov, Suzuki, and Caulfield.
Oh, that'd be fun. All the
Just
old head Canadians fans would hate it though because that line would be too small.
yeah,
But
unfortunately.
it would be electric. Just throw like Mike Masson and Arbor Jack on defense and you're fine. Um, could you just imagine them running like Cooley, Hudson, Demidov, Caulfield, Suzuki? Can we just get that just one time, please?
That'd
I
be
just
great.
need it. I need that in my veins. Because it would be electric. The biggest concern with the Canadians is the power play right now, which has been brutal over the last little bit. I think they went like 8 games without a goal. And I feel like that's going to be kind of the X factor because Washington's power play is obviously always going to be good when you have Ovechkin on it. And I feel like the series is going to be pretty tight. Excuse me, 5-5. So special teams is kind of where I think the series is going to be won. This feels a lot like the, ironically, against the same team, the 27, I think it was 2017 Toronto Maple Leafs team when they made the playoffs, 2018.
Yeah.
Where they kind of just came in with their young core. Nobody really expected them to get in that year. And then they had a really hard fought series against Washington that they lost. I feel like that's kind of going to be the same thing here. I think the Canadiens are going to come in. They're going to play really hard. They're going to look like they have a ton of potential. But I don't think they come out on top. I think it's going to be Washington in 6. I'll give the Canadiens 2 wins.
That was my pick as well.
Yeah.
So we see eye to eye there.
Yeah. That's just the exact parallel I have is that this seems very much like that early Leafs team. And I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal is like a solid playoff team next year with that experience.
100%.
Moving into the other series in the Metro, the Hurricanes and Devils. And man, at the start of the season, I would have been really excited for this. Not as excited about it now. It feels like New Jersey is limping into this series without Jack Hughes. Dougie Hamilton's back though, so that's cool. It feels like Jacob Markstrom needs to like win this series for New Jersey, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is if he can come in and he can steal like 2 games, I think the Devils team can win another one for him, and then you're kind of left with a game 7. That feels like the way the series has to go for New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm really unfortunate to see New Jersey banged up like this. They had a nice start to the season as well in the fall, and they've kind of really been decimated by injuries, unfortunately. And even this Carolina team hasn't been as exciting as we anticipated, especially moving off of Mikko Rantanen. But we know that they're more so loading up for the next couple of years, and we know that this core isn't done after this year. This isn't a make or break it year for Carolina, which is also interesting to me too, because I feel like a lot of the past couple of years they've had these expectations. It was sort of this is a cup team. This team should be coming out of the East, and they haven't. They haven't won a game in the conference finals in a long time, and they've reached it quite a few times.
Yeah, they're like the Toronto Maple Leafs of the Eastern Conference Final.
They are. They really are. And I don't know. I just have a feeling Carolina's really going to shine against this injured Devils team, missing their best player. And I think just because the expectations aren't as high, I think that they're going to come in and they're going to be relaxed. A lot of the focus is on other teams in the East, like Washington, who's first in the division. They're
Yeah.
more focused on Toronto, who's also first in their division. They don't have a lot of pressure, Carolina, in my opinion. People saw them move off Branson in midseason. They understood, okay, they're not really going all in this year. And I think because of that, they're going to perform a lot better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Carolina's my like sleeper pick to come out of the East, just because of that. I think that the Atlantic's a bloodbath, and I don't think Washington is this unbeatable juggernaut. If Carolina can like go in and consistently play their game, they have the pieces to make it work. They're not my pick to come out of the East, but if I had to put money on a team that probably has pretty good odds right now, Carolina feels like a pretty good bet. I think their path to success is pretty clear.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to take Carolina. I'm stuck between 5 or 6. I don't think this goes 7 with Jack
No.
Hughes out. I think if Jack Hughes plays and this team, Devils team, has been together, they probably look a little different at the trade deadline, make some different
Yeah.
moves, and I think they'd probably come out of this series, to be honest with you, with the season Carolina's had. But I'm going to go with Carolina just because the expectations are low, they're relaxed, and they've been here before, and they've had success against the Devils recently in the playoffs.
Yeah. Carolina
Uh,
in 6 feels good. That's
I'll give New Jersey 2 games with Dougie Hamilton
yeah.
coming back. I feel like
Yeah.
that's fair. Carolina in 6.
There you go. All right. Well, let's talk about the actual Toronto Maple Leafs. Next, Leafs Senators. Ooh, this one's gonna be fun. This brings back to my childhood. I remember the early 2000s Leafs Sens series, and they were so much fun, and I'm so excited for this. Um, my my X factor going into the series is Brady Tkachuk. If Brady Tkachuk can play in his first playoff series in like he's played what 7 years now.
Almost. Yeah.
If he can come in and be able to walk that line between being like an agitator and not hurting his team, man, the Senators have a real good shot to win this series. Because I feel like there will be a moment in the series where Brady Tkachuk does something that Leafs fans think he should get suspended for, and he won't. And Senators fans will freak out, and it'll cause a whole thing, and that'll be like the storyline of the series. But I think if he can walk that line, I really like Ottawa here, to be honest with you. And that's a big if, right? Like that's a very big caveat to this. But man, if he can figure it out and go into this and not do anything that's going to hurt his team, but do enough that's going to really get under the skin of the Leafs, I kind of like Ottawa.
3-0 in the season series.
Yeah, I kind of like Ottawa. I think that their moves at the deadline were really good. Linus Olmark's been really good. The blue line looks solid. I don't know. Am I crazy?
I don't think so, but I really like the Leafs finish to the season. I think Mitch Marner had arguably the best season of his career this year under Craig
Yeah,
Berube.
probably.
Austin Matthews has looked a lot better and looks to be gaining capacity to full health finally. He's sort of shifted to more of a playmaker with his injury toward finish out the
Yeah.
season, but he's still been really effective. Matthew Nyes too stepped up big time this year. I'd love to see him and Brady Tkachuk drop the gloves at least once in this series. I think that'd be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
And on the back end, you don't really have that standout number one for Toronto, which is definitely concerning. And I think you have that in Ottawa with Jake Sanderson after the year he's had. And they're pretty balanced, Toronto. They got Morgan Riley, Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe. They don't have that true number one. Morgan Riley's kind of regressed to this good top
Yeah.
four defenseman, but not really that number one guy like he was 6, 7 years ago, which is crazy to say that 6, 7 years ago now. He was drafted like 13 years ago, which is crazy to think about. And
Insane.
I feel like he's still like 25 years old, like Leafs number one D. Like this team is young, but no longer. Unfortunately, those days are behind us. But I don't know. I just kind of like Toronto a little bit under Craig Berube, and I would not be shocked if Ottawa were to pull out the series. I think this is the biggest gap in seeding where I wouldn't be shocked of an upset in these playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's tough. I think just because Toronto is a little bit different of a personnel this year with travailing, overhauling that decor, and Craig Berube I trust a lot more than Sheldon Keefe in a playoff series as a coach, and I think Toronto will be able to figure this out, but it's close for me. It really is
Yeah.
close. Ottawa has some gamers, Tim Stützle, Brady
Claude Giroux
Tkachuk.
too. Like Claude Giroux's got
Yeah,
experience in the playoffs. Like he's somebody that's been itching for a playoff series in a while for a while now. So
I'm
he's
gonna
kind of my
lean
X factor in this.
Toronto.
Watch for Claude Giroux.
I'm gonna take Toronto in 7. I hate to do it, but I know this is gonna come back to bite me in the ass, but you'll be laughing at me in 2 weeks when Ottawa wins this in like 5 games, and I'll look like an
I'm going.
idiot.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go Senators in 7. I think this is gonna be too much fun, and I just think I think that Brady Tkachuk figures it out. And that's the big if, right? If he crosses the line and gets himself in trouble, in penalty trouble, or gets suspended, the Senators are done, right? Because their gas tank, like their spark plug is gonna be gone. But if he can toe that line and he can figure that out, and I think Matthew might have to give his brother a call and figure out how to do that. Yeah, I'm going Senators in 7.
Did
Why
you
not?
imagine these two teams meet in the
Go
second round?
yeah.
The two brothers meet in the second round.
Florida and Ottawa. Oh, that'd be fun. It could happen. We're almost there. Man, that'd be a fun series. Marchand against the Senate. Oh, that'd be fun.
Wow.
Speaking of which, let's talk about the final series. Tampa Bay, Florida, the Battle of Florida. This feels like a potential Eastern Conference final matchup, right?
This feels like an Eastern Conference final
Yeah.
matchup. These are the two best teams in the East, in my opinion.
Probably, yeah. I'm down for that. Very similar to the Colorado Dallas series.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Besides Vegas lurking around in the Pacific, but yeah, this feels very much like a potential Eastern Conference final matchup. I'm curious to know how you feel going into this because the Panthers have been struggling, but the Panthers struggled at the end of last year too, and they won the Cup. Panthers have also been to 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals. Tampa Bay knows how that could tire you out. I don't. How do you feel going into this?
I talked about this yesterday for the hockey writers, and I almost compared it this way that Florida is now in the position that Tampa was 3 years ago in
Yep.
2022 when
Yep.
Tampa won back-to-back cups and were making that run for the third final. They were tired. They were gassed. You could see it. It was very obvious how fatigued they were. They were banged up with injury that came out once the offseason rolled around. And I think the Panthers are kind of in that same boat at this point with the core where the regular season doesn't mean anything to them anymore. We're playing as long as we get a spot in the playoffs, we know we have a shot. And that's what this kind of feels like with this Panthers team this year is, yeah, we kind of dogged at the end of the season. Matthew Tkachuk missed a significant amount of time. Barkov's been in and out of the lineup, but we're here. We're the third seed. We don't need home ice advantage. We can take anybody out. We have the guys to do it. We've been there before. And man, for this Lightning team, they look a lot better than last year. Everything has improved significantly. Goaltending, offensive
Absolutely.
depth, defense, and
Vasilevsky's back. 2019 Vasilevsky's back. It's crazy.
2019 Vasilevsky is back, and I I really think the Lightning come back and beat the Panthers in this one for this round of the Battle of Florida. I think this is the best rivalry in the NHL right now, personally.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just
I mean,
because
they've
these
been to the
teams,
5 straight Stanley Cup Finals. Like,
yeah. I mean, just because this is the fourth time these teams are playing each other in the last 5 years,
yeah. I
and
think
just
the funniest analogy I saw was I was listening to the Athletic hockey show today. They were previewing the Eastern Conference, and at 6:30 a.m. on my plane ride home, and I think it was Sean McAdoo said this feels like this was always kind of the Tampa was always the big brother of this rivalry, like back in the day and in the early 2000s, and then all of a sudden, little brother started kicking the shit out of big brother, and it feels like big brother went off to college and started working out, and now he's back, and he's like, all right, let's go try this one more time. And it feels like this could be the series where Tampa Bay kind of takes back that big brother mantra, where they come in and they kind of like reassert their dominance in Florida. So I like the Lightning in this. I think Florida's
yeah.
coming in too banged up and too cold, and that's not a good recipe, especially for a series that's gonna be this physical to start the playoffs.
And I just don't think they guys have meshed well with them. Marchand hasn't looked great with the Panthers, to be honest with you. He only has like 4 points in 10 games. Seth Jones has been pretty horrific. I don't know. This core hasn't played. 100% together. This new Panthers team with some of these trade deadline
Yeah.
acquisitions.
I feel
Barkov's
like
been
them
in
getting a
on the
long summer
lineup.
would be good
Yeah.
for the
And I think they're just banged up. I'm not saying Tampa's the easy pick here. I'm not saying Tampa's gonna roll them. This is gonna be a 6-7 game series still.
yeah.
We know
This
what
one's been
Florida's
7.
capable of. But it's just hard to count this Lightning team out. Watching the full regular season, covering them tightly, seeing what they've been able to do, and you had Jake Gensel in this equation. Oh my
Oh
goodness! I mean, in the
yeah.
playoffs, he scored 8 goals in 7 games against the Rangers 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
then even with Carolina, he's been really good. And he had that one playoff run with Pittsburgh after the one that got the 2018 year. He had like
Yeah.
21
He
points
was
in
really
12 games. It was
yeah.
like McDavid-esque kind of performance for like 12 games with Crosby there, even though they got like bounced in the second round. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think if
No, he
Jake
was really good there.
Gensel comes in and is like playoff Jake Gensel, I think the Panthers might be in trouble.
Yeah. I agree. I think I'm going with Tampa Bay. I think if the Panthers are playing literally any other team in the East, then all of the question marks I have about them wouldn't worry me, and I'd
Yeah.
probably. But the fact that they got the Lightning, I don't think Tampa is going to give them any kind of edge in this series.
And I think Tampa's the team that we've seen have stunned them out of nowhere and have given them a run for their money.
Yeah.
You remember they a couple years ago, 22, they won the President's Trophy. Everyone thought Florida was going to break that. Eventually, they did 2 years later. They've
Yeah.
established themselves as one of those cup winning franchises. But everyone thought, okay, this is the year Florida's going to break out. They're going to get all their fans. Like
Mm-hmm.
Florida hockey's growing. And the Lightning just came in and beat the crap out of them, swept them. So if anybody knows how to beat the Panthers, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. I think lastly, I want to talk. I think this is definitely the best coaching matchup of the first round. Paul Maurice versus John Cooper is going to be so much fun. There's going to be so many good sound bites. They're two like actual geniuses behind the bench. I'm looking real. I think the chess match between those two, especially as this thing goes longer, is gonna be really fun. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to that because I think that's these might be the two best coaches in the NHL right now, and they're playing each other in round 1.
I'll take Tampa in 7. I said 6 yesterday, but I think it's going 7. I think they need the home ice to close it.
I'll follow suit. So quickly, before we get out of here and I stop dying, Cup final prediction and Cup pick. We'll jump right to that.
I haven't even thought this far ahead, man. I've just been focused on these couple rounds.
I gotta throw it at you.
You know what?
We might have the same one.
I think we're gonna have the same one.
Yeah.
Vegas Tampa. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Vegas Tampa. I think Vegas wins. I think the Golden Knights get their second cup.
All right.
That's my prediction. I think
it might be Colorado too, though. I think at least it's going to be Colorado Vegas. I think would be a great conference final.
Yeah, I think Colorado Vegas, and I think it's Tampa Carolina are the conference finals.
Okay,
that's what I'm locking in.
Like I think the East is wide open for Tampa. I think it's Tampa's Eastern Conference. To be honest with you,
I think both conferences are like this is the year I think that we've had the most teams that could go on crazy runs.
I don't know, but like, is Tampa gonna struggle if Toronto wins that series? Like, they have struggled versus Toronto.
That's true, but it's Toronto in the second round of the playoffs.
True.
They'll be off the high of beating Ottawa. Like, I think Toronto's the team that's gonna not be able to. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to handle the emotion of beating Ottawa in round 1. They're kind of screwed either way.
Tampa's like been there, done that kind of thing.
Yeah. We beat Florida again. Cool. Yeah, I think Vegas, Tampa Bay. So it's going to be Minnesota, Montreal in the Cup final, by the way.
Yep. We'll see in June when it's Suzuki versus Kaprizov for the Conn Smythe. So
did you know that Ivan Demidov has like a $500,000 bonus in his contract if he wins the Conn Smythe this year?
What? No.
Yeah, I think that's the funniest. It's the funniest thing as part of his deal. There's like, I'm pretty sure it's $500,000 as a bonus if he wins the Conn Smythe. That's hilarious.
How about the setup he got with his girlfriend up in the penthouse in Montreal? What was it, the groceries stocked? What was that all about?
Yeah, I don't know. It was sick. He's living the life, man.
When are the Rangers going to do stuff like this with the big city Manhattan style?
Hey, no kidding. Where's the I need the Alexei Lafreniere Cribs tour.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I didn't get any report of Chris Drury buying a penthouse for Lafreniere when he was drafted. What's going on?
Yeah, no kidding. I guess like he did come over so quick that the team kind of had to help him out. To be fair, but
And before we go, I think we should touch on this just because it came out today. It's obviously a very sensitive topic, but how about that Panarin situation? He's playing tonight, by the way. I
yeah,
think.
I think so. Yeah.
Do you think what do you think the deal is with that?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's there's a lot of legal stuff that we aren't privy to. The information that's out is out, I guess. I hope this was a situation where the Rangers are just trying to avoid a situation before it begins. I hope it's not a situation where they're trying to cover something up that actually happened.
Yeah.
But I guess we won't know because they paid the person off. I hope it didn't happen. But obviously, there's been so many stories about sexual assault and everything in hockey, and I just hope this is another example of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially with a team like the Rangers who have had so much other issues this year, it just it really wouldn't be a good look. And obviously, this isn't a good look either way. But yeah, hopefully that nothing actually happened. But if
just
something
find it
did,
crazy.
hopefully the person's good. Okay.
How do you name him the good guy award by the media team and then come out with that the next day? Like,
yeah, that's pretty
just awful stuff.
Yeah, and like the team obviously knew about it. Like this isn't
Oh,
something
yeah.
that happened yesterday, right? Like it's not a good look for the New York Rangers.
And my
Either way.
favorite jersey that I own is a 2020 All-Star Game Artemi Panarin jersey that I wear to every game at Madison Square Garden that I've been to in the last 5 years. And now I probably won't be able to walk around with that on ever again.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, you can get a Igor Shesterkin jersey.
I just got to stop buying jerseys. I haven't bought a hockey jersey, I think, since I think I got the last time I bought a hockey jersey, I bought an Oli Mata World Cup hockey jersey off eBay from 2016.
My God.
That is sitting in my closet, and I think I've worn twice.
That's awesome.
And I'm not buying another jersey again.
So speaking of jerseys quickly, and just to end things on a lighter note, I don't know if you heard about the Brandon Gallagher situation, where in I think it was 2022, his breast cancer awareness jersey he dedicated to his mom, like on the tag, and his mom passed away from cancer earlier this year, and the person who won the auction because they auction off the Hockey Fights cancer jerseys every year, and the person who won it wanted to give it back to him.
Wow.
So at the Canadiens' final home game, for like where the players give their jerseys to fans or whatever, the Canadiens set it up so that she would get Brandon Gallagher's jersey at the game, and then she gave him the Hockey Fans Cancer jersey back, and that was a really cool moment. So
that is really cool.
It was cool how they were able to reconnect that and make that come together, because obviously that's an important thing for Brandon Gallagher to get.
Brendan Gallagher,
good on her for wanting to give back to him. Yeah.
Long-time Canadian, Brendan Gallagher. He's been there through it all. Him, Joel Armia, Jake Evans, they've been through this tough rebuild from that 2021 team. Watch out.
Yeah, there's I think there's like 7 players.
6.
6, yeah.
Suzuki, Caulfield, Armia, Evans, Gallagher, and Josh Anderson is the last one.
Josh Anderson, yeah.
Those 6.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was a cool story. So, let's end it on that bit of a happier note. And yeah, we'll see you. We'll do an episode on Monday. We can dive into 2 more of the teams that were eliminated.
Or we can talk about the playoffs too. If there's some exciting games this weekend, it's all subjective. We have to see.
We'll sprinkle some of that in too. We'll figure it out. Maybe something crazy will happen on Saturday
or Sunday.
Yeah,
there's games.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys in a couple days.